right, the Employees Provident Fund Organisation, EPFO, recently issued guidelines to allow a section of its older members to opt for higher pension under the Employees Pension Scheme. Now, the new guideline has created a lot of buzz since this would mean higher pension post-retirement for individuals. Let's bring on board Mr. K Jalan, former GOI EPFO, to understand this in more details. Mr. Jalan, good evening. Welcome to the show. And it's finally happened. The order signed by you is a reason for a lot of pensioners to be happy, definitely. But help us understand, sir, why did it take so long? What were the challenges?
Kavita, good evening. Let me first clarify. I'm not the chief of the EPFO now. I retired way back in 2017 as Secretary Government of India. I am presently a common citizen, and I also dissect the guidelines as a common citizen of the country. Now, basically the circular of 20th February 2023 is in compliance with the Supreme Court of India guidelines, the order whereby the Supreme Court asked the EPFO to give further chance to those employees who could not opt as per the section or clause 11.4 of the Employees Pension Scheme 1995. That is the only issue here. Now, the EPFO has issued instructions in this regard in compliance with the orders of the Honorable Supreme Court.
All right. Next, we would like you to explain exactly what's the impact, because here we are talking about a very crucial and impactful change. Now, with the deadline of 3rd of March, in your assessment, roughly how many pensioners are we talking about would be getting the benefit?
You see, the para 5 of the circular very clearly says that only those people who were contributing at a higher rate to the Employees Provident Fund and at the time of 2014, only they are eligible. That is the one. Secondly, they did not, and those employees who did not or forgot to exercise option, that is the only employees which can now exercise the option. Number of such employees may not be very high because not many employees were paying at a higher amount under section 26.6 of the EPF scheme, and they forgot to exercise the option. The employees which will satisfy all the conditions 1, 2, and 3, they will not be very high. I think the number, according to me, a rough estimate, the number can be around 1 lakh of, at the most, around 1 lakh of the persons.
All right. Could you also explain us in detail what are the changes in terms of procedure are we talking about, in terms of calculation are we talking about, just for a layman to understand?
The calculation, you see, Employees Provident Pension Scheme is a defined benefit scheme. Basically, it was for the employees which were drawing pay to a maximum of 15,000 rupees. Now, if you are drawing pay for 15,000 rupees, say for the last 5 years, and you have retired from EPF, you have retired while contributing to EPFO, you will get roughly a pension of 7,500 rupees per month. And this pension continues even after your death. It's to the family, and it also is available to the handicapped children or the dependent children till they acquire that age of 25. So therefore, it's a really a welfare measure. Now, this type of facility was not available to the employees drawing a basic salary of more than 15,000. Now, that thing has been now allowed to some extent by the Supreme Court because of that, the reading of the clause 11.4 of the Employees Pension Scheme 1995.
So how exactly the pension will be raised?
Now, if somebody has contributed, say, at a higher wage at that point of time at 2014, and he wants to now get into the EPS 1995 scheme, then he, while retiring, if he is, say, with the present calculation, if he is retiring at a wage of 1 lakh rupees, he will get a pension of 50,000 rupees. Therefore, that way the pension will increase sizably. He will get a very good pension with the present the guidelines, but the guidelines may change. The EPFO has still not clarified as to what pensions these people will get, because there is an issue which the Supreme Court has kept it 1.16% contribution that has still been kept open. So therefore, that issue, if it is clarified, then that will also impact the pension. And maybe defined pension scheme, defined benefit scheme might be difficult for EPFO to accept, because it will then be a very high drain on the EPS funds. And that the issue which was argued by the EPFO in the Supreme Court.
There are a few more questions which are also coming up from the activist end also. Now that if people have withdrawn money from their PF or maybe have taken loan on that amount, how is this going to impact their EPS contribution?
The loan might not disturb the thing, but naturally, if you have contributed at a higher, the present guidelines say if you have contributed at a higher rate, you are eligible. If you have contributed at a high rate, then you are eligible for a high rate of pension. That's the only thing it is clarified here. Now, if you have taken a loan, that will not disturb the system. Of course, naturally, we will ask you for the money. The EPFO will definitely ask you for the money if you have totally withdrawn it, and you need to naturally will have to contribute along with the interest to the EPFO purpose.
Also, do you think the period is very limited and not all would be able to exercise this particular appeal or the consent form that needs to be submitted?
I think that can be extended if there is some problem, that can be extended. Of course, now the period has been given as per the guidelines of the Supreme Court. But if there is a problem in maybe the system is, the server is not working, the system is not working, then I think the EPFO would be kind enough to extend this period by a few days. That should not be a problem.
Also, sir, a lot of reports say that just the EPFO circular is not enough for EPF members to exercise this particular action. They might have to wait for a few more rounds of circulars. In terms of a few more rounds of circulars and clarification, what all is left to be done? I think few you just pointed out. Is there anything else?
A lot of things are to be left out, in the sense that the benefit is not defined to a greater extent in this circular. And this circular also doesn't define as to the people, as you were asking, who have taken loan or who have taken some earlier benefit, who have withdrawn the amount. Now, how will they be treated as far as the benefits are concerned? Those will be clarified by the circulars later.
Just as per your analysis and maybe the take that you have, now, as you just rightly pointed out, in terms of clarity on how much would be the estimated amount, there is no illustration given. Now, when a willing member exercises his or her option along with his or her employer, he or she gives the consent for transfer of a certain amount of money for his or her provident fund account to general pension fund. In the absence of required information, such a member would not like to exercise this option. But in terms of illustration, in terms of clarification, what kind of mathematics should be actually given to the members so that they can take this decision?
Yeah, you are right, absolutely right, that is not very clearly given by the EPFO circular. But assuming that naturally the present guidelines will exist, or the present guidelines as on the 2014 scheme will exist, then you can say the present defined benefit scheme of the under the employees pension scheme will continue, and to that is going to be more beneficial for the employees. Now, these employees who fit into these guidelines 5, 1, 2, and 3, and as far as the circular is concerned, they, to a greater extent, should take the benefit of the same. It will be really beneficial to them.
We are just looking at the first phase of this particular announcement. Do you think this is going to be rolled digitally? How long do you think will it take for the amount to reach the pensioners? I know we are just talking about the mathematics illustration and the ultimate benefit that they might get, but how long will it actually take for this amount to reach them?
You see, the issues concerned are that the amount getting into the EPS fund, then the amount getting the pension calculations and getting back to the pension. I think it will take around 6 months' time. The EPFO is now digitized to a greater extent, and EPFO is quite competent. I think the whole process can be done in a period of 6 months' time.
Answered this question, but I still want to ask you, will this be the same amount that will be given to the nominees as well?
I have answered you already. As per the present scheme, yes. If there is a scheme which is changed, then if there is a change for certain members, then yes, then it might, it's not clarified by the EPFO, but the present scheme allows it to the nominee and it allows it to the dependent children also.
Last question to you, sir. Your advice to all those people, all those members who might want to opt for this. What would you like to tell them?
Those people who are eligible to opt for it should opt for it, I would say.
All right, Mr. Jalan, thank you so much for being on the show and helping our viewers with this new action.